Hello friends, I'm continuing my live updates from Ukraine, and today we have the first day of the Great Lent, something very important for Christians all over the world and in Ukraine, and the 12th day of Russian aggression, of this terrible war with many civilian casualties in Ukraine. And first, what I want to show you is the image I just retrieved from one of the Telegram channels, an event that happened just a couple of hours ago in one of the villages neighboring with Kyiv. You can see a local village church burning after the bombing. This is how the famous Russian world, Ruski Mir, is coming to Ukraine. And let me remind you that this ideology of the Russian world has always been supported by the Patriarch of Moscow, and even in his latest homily in the Sunday of the first Sunday before the Great Lent, the Sunday that we call the day of forgiveness, of mutual forgiveness. The sermon was militaristic and absolutely propagandistic, full of lies against Ukraine and full of support for Putin's aggression. And the day after the sermon, we see images like this, or like this one, where churches of Moscow Patriarchate in Ukraine are being destroyed by Russian rockets and bombs. And these are not only images. Of course, churches of all denominations are being destroyed, but even their own Russian Orthodox Church is suffering under those shellings. Peaceful cities are suffering. Here is the image that struck me. It's the image of the city Mariupol, which is now on all the news because it's one of the most heavily shelled and besieged cities. It has like 250, had before the war 250,000 inhabitants. Probably at least 150 are still in the city, probably more. And 2 times Russian troops promised humanitarian corridors for the people to leave the city, and that only soldiers stay inside. Ukrainian soldiers are still keeping the city. And both times, in the last moment, the civilians were denied the exit, the safe exit, and the so-called corridor was shelled with bombs and rockets. And you can just imagine from this picture. I've never been to that city myself. I didn't know how it looks exactly, and this is a picture that actually struck me because you can imagine what it is like to be in this kind of multi-story buildings when everything is burning and being bombed, and you have no place to hide, because if you hide in the basement and the building like that collapses on your head, you are buried alive, and it's hardly possible to get out of there. So these civilians are really in extreme stress. And something that is most cynical is that Russian authorities allowed them to exit only in the side towards the Russian territory. Even that at the last moment was cancelled, but the idea was to evacuate all the citizens of Mariupol to Russia, which of course they didn't want, and but they had no choice. They would use even that corridor, but even that was denied to them in the last moment. Obviously, this provokes a huge wave of refugees, something we have to deal here in Lviv. Yesterday and today I was helping out some refugees to get to the train station or to the border, to get some rest, some shelter. And this picture here on the left is from a train station in Kharkiv, in the eastmost city of Ukraine that is very heavily bombed right now. I met several people from that city city. They are deeply stressed, and they were describing their horrors, especially during the night when city is attacked. And something they told me again, something that impressed me very deeply, is that they said, we are not so much afraid of the rockets because we learned how to calculate their trajectory. The sound when the rocket is approaching is very peculiar, so we could somehow hide or at least know where it's flying. But the most horrific is the bombs, because you don't hear them. You by the moment you hear the plane, it's too late to hide, and people are fleeing in mass. And you can see this train station. The picture is very good because it shows you the relative size of the train and the size of the human crowd. So you need like 20 trains to take this crowd, and there are no 20 trains. So people have to be literally jammed into trains. People I spoke to said they were traveling 12 to 15 persons in a car, in a compartment, in a car, in a train car that is fit for 4 people. So 12 to 15 people in a place of 4 people. They were extremely exhausted. They had to stand for 18 hours straight. No toilet, no facilities, no whatsoever. And they come to Lviv extremely exhausted, and then they had, after 1 or 2 day rest, they had to Poland or to other Eastern European countries for shelter. Here on my right is a post from social media comparing Russian invasion to a Nazi military operation, especially because they have chosen, for some reason, they have chosen this Z letter to mark their cars entering Ukraine, and people have found in the internet the same letter, Z letter, used by some SS subdivision in the World War II, and are just making this kind of fun illustrations to show who is really Nazi here and who needs denazification. Is it Ukraine or is it Russia that is killing civilians in mass? Speaking of army losses, there are about 500 casualties, soldier casualties from Ukrainian side, but Russian casualties are really massive. Partially this is just an outcome of this Russian negligence, their stupid planning of the operation. They were marching their troops without any defense, with aggressive intent, but without much logistics, and they fell victims to Ukrainian artillery and various special weapons that were destroying their military columns massively. So something like over 11,000 of live force has been lost by Russian troops, almost 300 tanks, so many aircrafts, like almost 50 by now, helicopters. Only yesterday there were like 30 helicopters shot down or destroyed in other way by Russian troops. And I'm quoting it without any bravado. It's just to show you the scale of the operation of this war. Obviously there are lives behind every figure on this statistics, and the scale of the losses Russian army suffers. And we really hope that those losses will echo in some reaction in Russian society. The mothers of the soldiers, their families, and every people of more or less goodwill, if there are any left in Russia, should take action to save, first of all, their own citizens, if they don't want to save Ukraine and Ukrainian civilian population. Here are just some pictures of those shot planes of just 2 days ago, so yesterday and the day before yesterday. There are many more, obviously. There are many Russian captives, soldiers who either surrendered or who were taken as prisoners of war by Ukrainian troops. The count goes probably already in a couple of thousands. We don't know exactly, and it's hard to consolidate those figures, but there are numerous videos on the internet of questioning soldiers. Obviously, these are of different levels. Some of them are very young, almost like children, 18 plus. They are obviously not well trained. They were just riding their tanks or their armored vehicles, and after those were shot, they just wandered the fields asking for food, for shelter, and were taken captives by our troops. They always speak to their families on the phone given by Ukrainian soldiers, asking to start the negotiation process for them to return home. They say they are treated humanely by Ukrainian side. But also there are other types of there is another type of those soldiers who are experienced cold-blood killers, especially the pilots of the planes that were shot down. These are high-ranking Russian military officials. Some of them are colonels. Some of them are majors, but with a huge experience of serving in Russian army and taking part in various operations in Syria and in other parts of the world on behalf of Russian army or Russian mercenaries. So we have a bunch of those captives now, and they will probably be brought to some kind of tribunal because they were bombing and shelling peaceful cities. Now, people in the occupied areas, those that have been already run over by Russian troops, especially in the southern Ukraine, Kherson region, and parts of Zaporizhia region, people there are so brave. I'm really silent when I watch these videos because they come to Russian soldiers to speak out freely, to express their outrage at what is going on. The soldiers stand with machine guns and people are yelling at them and waving Ukrainian national flag, and like in this picture, they are burning down the doll of Putin and manifesting to support Ukraine, that they want to belong to Ukraine. They don't want to be under the occupation. This is something that really takes courage, needs courage, because with Russian troops facing you, it's not easy to demonstrate. And I admire my compatriots for doing this. The last picture for today I want you to see. This is a video. Is a very sad one on the one hand, but also life affirming. It's a military band of soldiers standing in the midst of bombed buildings near this hole where the bomb just fell, and playing Ukrainian national anthem. I want you just to see this and hear. Thank you for watching and for supporting us. We still need your support. We need your prayers. We need your manifestations in your home countries. Writing to your leaders to support Ukraine, because the whole development of the situation here is still very unfortunate. Russia continues to send her troops into Ukraine. There is more bloodshed, there is more bombing of civilian buildings, and the wave of refugees is becoming really huge, with 5 million of refugees prognosed in the next 2 weeks or so, which is huge and unheard of in Europe and in the world, probably after the World War II. But we hope to stand firm, and we hope to overcome these difficulties with your help and with the help of our Lord. Thank you very much.